Welcome back for another deep dive. We're going to be cracking open the Echotruth book, The Clean Feast and Waters of Wisdom today.
Ooh.
Yeah, specifically Volume 2,
Okay.
Chapters 1 and 2.
All right.
Now, this book, it's all about creating like an ethical and societal framework,
Okay.
but with a bit of a twist, right? Because it defines truth as the laws of nature.
Interesting.
So it's kind of like instead of looking to the stars for guidance,
Right.
we should be studying, what crawls and flies.
Yeah, I like that.
It's a very different way of looking at things.
It is. It's a very grounded approach,
Yeah.
It really emphasizes that by observing the natural world around us, we can discover really profound truths.
Okay.
For example, the book talks about the Earth's energetic fields
Right.
and how they influence our lives in ways we might not even realize.
So instead of worshiping deities, we should be like turning into these natural
Yeah,
energies.
kind of the idea, yeah.
It's a pretty radical concept, isn't it?
It is. It definitely challenges a lot of conventional thinking.
Yeah.
And that unconventional thinking continues into Chapter 1,
Okay.
The Clean Feast,
Okay.
where the book really gets into the nitty-gritty
All right.
of applying these natural truths to our daily lives.
Okay, so how do we actually live by these natural truths?
Right.
I mean, is it like hugging trees and foraging for berries?
Well, there's a bit more to it than that.
Okay.
The book stresses the importance of moderation
Really?
in all aspects of life, really.
Mm-hmm.
But particularly when it comes to food and drink.
Right.
It advocates for a balanced diet with plenty of fruits and vegetables.
Okay.
And it even allows for things like wine and beer,
Oh, okay.
but always in moderation.
So it's not about strict rules, but just finding that balance.
Exactly. It's about harmony,
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
finding that sweet spot.
Right.
And the book makes this fascinating point about how overindulging, especially in meat,
Mm-hmm.
can actually cloud our thinking. It suggests that a lighter diet can lead to greater mental clarity and spiritual awareness.
That's really interesting. It makes you think, like, our modern obsession with convenience food
Yeah.
and, all that stuff
Absolutely.
is actually hindering our ability to connect with those deeper truths.
It raises some important questions, for sure,
Yeah,
about the impact of our lifestyle choices on our overall well-being.
definitely.
The book also encourages fasting,
Okay.
but it's not presented as like a strict dogma or anything. It really emphasizes tailoring the practice to your individual needs,
Right.
your health conditions,
Mhm.
and it even acknowledges that you can still be intimate while fasting.
Oh, well, that's a relief.
Right.
I was worried this was going to be like a super restrictive,
Yeah.
no fun allowed kind of philosophy.
It's not about deprivation.
Okay.
It's really about being mindful
Okay,
and in tune with your body's natural rhythms.
gotcha.
It's about empowering individuals to make choices that align with their own truth, their own personal truth, and their own well-being.
I like that. And speaking of empowerment, what really struck me was the book's stance on conflict resolution.
Okay.
It seems to advocate for a pretty radical approach.
How so?
It says no violence or revenge,
Wow.
even in situations where you've been wronged.
That's pretty radical, yeah.
It is?
It really prioritizes peace and understanding above all else.
Yeah.
Even just that instead of resorting to violence, we should document any wrongdoing
Right.
and seek help from, authorities to ensure a fair resolution.
It's like rising above the primal urge for revenge,
It is.
seeking justice through more evolved means.
It's a higher path.
It is.
For sure.
It's definitely a challenge to, our knee-jerk reactions.
Right.
But it also feels very aligned with the book's overall message of living in harmony.
Absolutely. It's about breaking those cycles of negativity
Yeah.
that keep us trapped in conflict.
Yeah. If we're constantly seeking retribution, it's hard to imagine ever achieving that inner peace.
It's counterproductive.
It really is.
And this idea of harmony extends to other areas of life, too, like
Yeah.
how we handle wealth and possessions.
Okay.
The book encourages honesty in acquiring wealth,
Okay.
and it even warns against coveting what belongs to others.
That's a tough one.
It is, especially in a society that glorifies material success
Yeah.
and encourages us to compare ourselves to others all the time.
Constantly.
But I can see how letting go of that desire for what others have
Right.
could lead to a greater sense of contentment.
Absolutely. It's about appreciating what you have
Yeah.
and focusing on your own journey
Right.
rather than getting caught up in comparisons.
And the book doesn't shy away from tackling complex social issues
Right.
like marriage and divorce.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it offers this unique perspective on dowries,
Okay.
and the importance of fairness in asset division if a couple splits up.
Mm-hmm.
I was really surprised by the book's progressive stance on children's rights, too.
Oh, yeah.
It explicitly states that children are not possessions.
Should be raised with love and respect
Right.
and have the right to self-determination.
That's pretty forward-thinking,
It is.
especially considering the time period when the book was written.
Right.
It goes even further, advocating for shared parental responsibility
Okay.
after separation,
Okay.
suggesting that children should spend equal time with both parents
Oh.
whenever possible.
That's pretty radical, even by today's standards.
It is,
Yeah.
but it really highlights the book's commitment to fairness
Yeah.
and the well-being of all individuals,
Right.
regardless of age or social status.
This book is constantly challenging conventional thinking
It is.
and pushing us to re-examine our assumptions about how we live
Absolutely.
and interact with each other.
It's about questioning everything
Yeah.
and finding a more authentic way of being.
And speaking of interconnectedness,
Yes.
the book ends this chapter with a powerful message about forgiveness.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is.
What does it say?
It encourages us to forgive even those we consider enemies,
Mm-hmm.
to seek peaceful resolutions,
Okay.
and to break free from that cycle of resentment and anger.
That's a powerful message.
It is.
Especially in today's world where
Mhm.
there's so much division and conflict.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we don't have to be consumed by negativity.
Right.
We can choose a different path.
We can choose forgiveness.
Exactly.
So we've got this fascinating framework for living in alignment with these so-called natural truths,
Yeah.
observing nature, finding balance in our consumption, choosing peace over conflict,
Right.
valuing fairness and forgiveness.
It's a lot to take in,
It is.
but it's really inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
It gives you hope that a better world is possible.
Absolutely.
Right.
And in the next chapter,
Okay.
The Waters of Wisdom,
All right.
the book delves even deeper into the inner workings of our minds
Interesting.
and the power of our beliefs to shape our reality.
Okay.
It even makes this bold claim that guilt, not hate, is the true opposite of love.
Ooh, that's a head scratcher.
I know, right?
I'm curious to hear more about that.
Let's dive into that
Let's
next.
do it.
Okay, guilt as the opposite of love. That's a bold statement.
It is a bold statement.
Why does the book make that distinction?
Well, the book sees guilt as this really heavy weight that kind of drags us down. You know, it squashes our self-worth, it squashes our creativity. It argues that when we're drowning in guilt, we can't really experience joy
Right.
or achieve our full potential.
It's like it's saying that guilt keeps us small,
Exactly.
keeps us accepting less than we deserve.
Mm-hmm. And prevents us from really, truly loving ourselves and others.
Wow. That's a powerful concept.
It is, and it ties into the next section where the book goes into this idea of entitlement versus earning,
Okay.
suggesting that true fulfillment comes from the effort we put in, you know, from working towards our goals and knowing that we deserve the rewards.
So it's not about denying ourselves good things, but rather understanding that we
Yeah.
have the power to create those good things.
Yes, through our actions and our beliefs.
I like that.
It encourages us to shift from a mindset of, I deserve this because, to, I'm creating this because.
Oh, I see.
The book even suggests some methods to kind of tackle that excessive entitlement, like practicing gratitude
Right.
and really focusing on the present moment.
I can see how that would help to appreciate what we have and focus on building that future that we desire
Yeah.
rather than feeling entitled to it.
Exactly. And now get ready for this next part because it gets really mind-bending. The book dives into the concept of belief.
Okay.
And it argues that our beliefs actually shape our reality.
Oh.
So if we're constantly facing negative situations, it suggests we should look at our underlying beliefs.
Oh, okay.
And see if they're contributing to those experiences.
So instead of blaming outside factors or whatever,
Yeah.
we need to look inward at our own beliefs and see if we're creating a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly. It's a pretty radical concept.
It is.
But it challenges us to take responsibility for the energy we bring into the world
Right.
and recognize the power of our thoughts and our beliefs.
It's like we can transform those beliefs and create a new reality for ourselves.
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into this next point, which is about embracing our inner creator.
Okay.
The book really encourages us to trust in our ability to manifest our desires,
Okay.
emphasize that we're all capable of creating the lives we want.
That's a good message.
It is. It's very empowering. Very empowering.
It's like a reminder that we have way more agency than we think we do.
Absolutely. And to help us on that journey of self-discovery,
Okay.
the book outlines 7 stages of spiritual development.
7 stages.
7 stages, yeah.
Can you give us a quick rundown of what those stages are?
Yeah, of course. So it starts with the age of innocence, where we're fully present, open to experience, like newborns exploring the world for the first time. Then comes the age of indecision, a period of questioning and exploring different identities, kind of like the challenges faced by children and teenagers, right?
Yeah.
And this phase requires a really delicate balance between having well-defined limits and also the freedom to explore within those boundaries.
All right.
The book actually argues that forcing spiritual practices on kids during this time can actually hinder their development.
Oh, wow.
And that genuine participation only occurs when it's truly voluntary.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's about respecting that natural progression from the wonder of childhood to that kind of questioning of adolescence.
What comes after the questioning?
The age of discontent,
Okay.
marked by the realization that life doesn't always meet our expectations, right?
Yeah.
It's a time when our beliefs are challenged and we might struggle to find our place in the world.
Okay.
This is also when, a lot of mental health issues can emerge as we grapple with, existential questions and trying to make sense of our experiences.
So it's like a necessary disillusionment.
Yeah.
Shedding those naive beliefs to pave the way for a more mature understanding.
Exactly. And from that disillusionment, we move into the age of surrender,
Okay.
where we recognize our limitations and learn to accept the things that we can't control.
Right.
It's a time for embracing lifelong learning and trusting that the answers we seek will eventually reveal themselves.
But letting go of the need to have all the answers and just embracing the journey.
Exactly. And that openness leads to the age of revelation, where we experience those profound insights or shifts in perspective that transform our understanding. Exactly, yeah. Then comes the age of commitment, where we dedicate ourselves to personal growth and recognize that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Right.
And finally, we reach the age of contentment, a state of peace, stability, and deep faith that comes from a lifetime of learning and self-discovery.
Wow, it's a journey, it sounds like.
It is a journey. Yeah. But what struck me most about this chapter is its emphasis on personal empowerment.
Right. It's like the book is saying, stop waiting for someone else to give you permission to be happy.
Exactly.
To create the life you want.
Yeah.
You have the power within you right now.
You got it. You got it.
And speaking of power, I'm kind of curious to hear what the book has to say about the more practical aspects of life.
Okay.
Like, commerce and inheritance.
Right, right.
Did you find anything particularly insightful in those sections?
I did, yeah. The book dives into the ethics of commerce, condemning greed and emphasizing fairness in all business dealings.
Okay.
It also stresses responsible lending practices.
Okay.
With clear documentation and reasonable interest rates.
So it's not just about personal growth, but it's also about creating a just and equitable society.
Exactly. Yeah. Where everyone has the opportunity to thrive.
Like a blueprint.
Kinda, yeah. A framework for a more ethical way of living and interacting with each other.
And it doesn't shy away from addressing some, potentially controversial topics.
Yeah, right.
Like the book mentions the ethical termination of pregnancy in cases where the woman's life is in danger or the fetus is severely malformed.
Yeah, it's definitely a book that encourages critical thinking.
It does.
And challenges traditional norms.
I like that.
It really makes you question everything.
Yeah.
And figure out what you truly believe.
That's what makes it so compelling.
Right. It's not just offering feel-good platitudes, but a really comprehensive framework for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have, from guilt and entitlement to spiritual development and ethical commerce.
But there's one more section I want to touch on before we wrap up.
Okay.
The book's perspective on prayer.
Okay.
And connecting with our inner spirit.
Right.
What insights did you gather from that section? Prayer. Inner spirit. It sounds like we're getting into some really deep stuff here.
We are. It's where the book gets really, really interesting.
So what does it have to say about connecting with that spiritual side of ourselves?
Well, the book encourages prayer, but not in the traditional sense.
Oh, go.
It's not about pleading to an external deity or anything like that.
Right, right.
It's more about connecting with our own inner wisdom.
Oh, I see.
That quiet voice within that guides us toward truth and fulfillment.
So tapping into our own resources, our own potential.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we have everything we need within us
Okay.
to live a fulfilling and meaningful life.
And the book says that we can manifest our desires through the power of our intellect and focused intention.
That's right. It's about aligning our thoughts and actions with our goals.
So it's a very empowering perspective on prayer.
It is. It really puts the responsibility for creating positive change in our own hands.
But there's also a cautionary note, right? The book warns against blindly following spiritual teachers or prophets.
It does. It encourages us to be discerning, to question everything.
To not just accept things at face value.
Right. To seek truth within ourselves.
To trust our own judgment, our own intuition.
Exactly. True wisdom comes from direct experience and inner knowing.
Not from blindly accepting dogma.
No. And the book goes on to warn against the dangers of fanaticism in cults, especially for children.
Right, protecting them from being indoctrinated.
Yeah, from rigid belief systems that stifle critical thinking.
It's a reminder to be mindful of the information we consume.
And the influences around us.
Especially in today's world where there are so many voices competing for our attention.
It's crucial to develop that inner compass, that ability to discern truth from falsehood.
And the book also cautions against seeking miracles.
Right. It's not about looking for external validation.
For shortcuts to happiness.
It's about aligning ourselves with the principles of creation.
Like fairness, honesty, respect.
And compassion. Letting those principles guide our actions.
So it's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk.
Exactly. Living in harmony with the natural order.
It's a beautiful message. And the book ends on a really inspiring note.
It does.
Reminding us that we're all connected, capable of experiencing joy, love, and peace.
We all have the power to create a better world.
And that's a message that I think we all need to hear right now.
Absolutely.
This has been a really insightful deep dive.
I agree. We've covered so much ground.
So what does it all mean for you? What resonated most with you about the Echotruth book? How might you apply these concepts, the emphasis on nature, moderation, personal responsibility, and inner truth in your own life? And for those of you intrigued by these ideas, I encourage you to seek out the full Echotruth book and explore its teachings further. You might be surprised by what you discover about yourselves and the world around you. Until next time, keep diving deep.